Like, so the mindset you're describing, like these are some really great mental insights about, focus, about like controlling the external factors and focusing on what you can control. So I was wondering, was there a moment or an event that spurred you to think about and develop this mindset? Like, how did you go about developing and cultivating this kind of mindset to fencing?
I was just thinking about something, and I don't know if this is necessarily like the moment, but one kind of really extreme version of this was the 2012 Olympic qualifier. When I went into that tournament with so little political capital that even though I mean, they're probably gonna listen to us and be like, that's not true, but I was heads and tape, like I was heads above other people. Like the people that I was fencing, I had to win and I had to go to the Olympics. I had missed out on the spot by points by one FIE point, I think it was. It was crazy. And at that point, I think I was like, at that, that during that cycle, I had been like 20th in the world, obviously not first, but like really high in the world ranking. I was beating top 8 people, and I went into that and I fenced well. I beat tough opponents, but beat them like I should have. Got to the semifinal, and all I had to do was win. And then all of a sudden I found myself in front of someone whose coach was the new FIE. Oh gosh, I probably shouldn't even say this, but he was the FIE, I'm gonna be honest, he was the new FIE ref overseer. So the person that I was facing was being refed by people who worked for the coach that I was facing. So that went about as you might imagine. These Olympic qualifiers, the zonal qualifiers are like they're very political, especially in saber. And it was crushing. I lost 15-14, but I had touches where I did like jump parry to riposte and they had been called against me. Like, it was crushing. It was the most crushing thing that's ever happened to me, except for maybe 2016. but in 2016, I lost, right? I lost. So it was like more like introspective, like, oh God, maybe, I shouldn't be here. But like in 2012, it was like, I got this taken from me, I felt. Whatever is the truth. And I was crushed. Like crushed in a way I hadn't been ever. I was like sobbing, like, and I don't sob and wail, that's not me. Like, and I remember like, it took me like, coming back from that kind of made me decide. I don't know if that would made me decide, but I think that really like, even though I'd already been on this road, when I finally recovered from that, which was like at least 3 months later, I think I totally stopped fencing. I just was like, I can't do this. And when I wake up, I decided, I was like, when I wake up and go, I feel like picking up a saber today, I will go back. I had planned on quitting after the 2012 Olympics. And I did, and I went back, but I think there was like kind of like that renewed sense of, what do I need to do this in a way that I'll be happy, and what do I need to do to make this work and make this worth it? And that was 2 things, which was, one was like finding joy in what I was doing, because I was so stressed and so like broken up by the stress of the sport and the necessity to be successful, that I wasn't happy. And so I was like, how can I be happy? Why do I love this? I need to figure out how to keep that in me for the next 4 years and not burn out like 3 years in, which is, something other countries have whole systems to create for someone. Like, how do you not burn out at the wrong times? But I was with my coach creating this ourselves kind of unscientifically, right? By just like finding the errors and, like keeping a diary and
testing the wind, using the dowsing rod.
Yeah. And, it was funny because like, but aside from that, right, it was also, what can I do to lower the chance that this will happen to me? And what is in my control? Even more, take more, what is in my control? And I made a lot of big decisions, right? I moved back to California. I had to go back to work to do that. I had to do all these sorts of things to kind of change my mentality around this qualification. And I think it really worked in many ways. There are, of course, more things to improve. But I think ultimately in the Olympics, I showed that like, no matter how many people had knocked me down. I gotten back up and knocked down and gotten back up and knocked down and gotten back up. And I like didn't care. Keep knocking me down. I'll get back up. And that's my superpower. That has always been my superpower. When I went to the Olympics and had to fence the Japanese girl, I wasn't afraid and I just trounced her. Of course, Mario beat me afterwards, which was super sad because I really felt I could win. But it was, anyways, long story short, I learned again, and maybe for the final time, that I really had to take control of that part of myself and take as much into my control as possible so that one result or one day would not change the course of my fencing career.
I truly feel like that is maybe the most important aspect about mental training and mindset is that, you know, we talk a lot about, you know, what you do in the moment and whatnot, but mental training it's an everyday, all the kind of training kind of thing and perspective shift. And some of it is very like brass tacks, like these are techniques you use. This is meditation. These are reset strategies. This is visualization. These are the things that you use to deal with this in the situation. And other of it is, you know, finding joy. Like defeat carries its own mental scars. And people, oftentimes we go back to like how sometimes it's more difficult to overcome some of these moments as you have more experience. It's like people don't necessarily, us included, let go of some of these scars that have come from like losing big competitions and having many disappointments over many, many years. And oftentimes the greatest athletes in every sport are able to keep that beginner wonder and joy in the sport, because ultimately, like, and you know, if you're watching this and if no one's told you this, it's like you will not make it to the end if you're only doing this to win. If you are just trying for a medal and the only reason you are fencing or to win is to prove you can win, that's what you're doing. It's just like you won't make it. You will not. It's just like, and for me personally, I have my own, like, you know, come, you know, I hate to use the cliche phrase come to Jesus, but really like the moment where it was like, you know, my 2015 season was in the gutter. It looked like I wasn't going to qualify. Everything was going wrong. My entire life turned into a dumpster fire in a matter of months. And it was like, and I felt like, you know, I changed my life for 6 years. I'm going to fail. It is definitely going to happen. And in that moment, it was just like, listen, if you take one more step and your happiness depends on qualifying for the games, you have lost. And when you shift that around and you're able to, like, you know, take everything in your control, including your perspective about why are you here? What is your why? Why are you even doing this? That's part of mental training. That's part of the champion mindset. That's part of why people are able to maintain performance from 16 to 36. It's, you know, it sounds Sesame Street, but it's like, yo, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's just like you talk to like the top people at their game. It's just like, they might be stressed, but it's like they understand very clearly and with a lot of love and passion and respect why and what they're doing. And I feel like it sounds vague, but, you know, when you eventually you come to a point in competition when you understand, you know, which I guess is like, you know, a question like what